Annie had just graduated from Harvard, but she couldn't find a job. Feeling down, she witnessed a car about to hit a young boy. She immediately rushed over and saved him. The boy's mother misheard Annie's name as Nanny and promptly offered her a job to take care of her son. Annie initially wanted to decline, but when she pushed open the door to their luxurious mansion, she was stunned. The 10,000 square foot villa was filled with imported furniture, and the walls were adorned with designer high heels. She instantly accepted Mrs. X's job offer. However, Annie regretted her decision on her very first day. Mrs. X's nanny handbook contained 100 strict rules, such as only feeding the child high-protein foods, 3 French lessons per week, no cheap snacks, and no dating for the nanny. Even worse, Greyer mistakenly believed that Annie had driven away the previous nanny, so he thoroughly disliked her. When Annie went to pick Greyer up from school, he kicked her, bit her, and desperately tried to run away. After she finally managed to bring Greyer home, he pulled down her pants and locked her out. Just as Annie was feeling desperate, Harvard happened to pass by. He immediately comforted Greyer and helped Annie get through the difficult situation. Although Annie felt drawn to Harvard, Mrs. X forbade nannies from dating, so she focused all her energy on taking care of Greyer. She quickly discovered that the employers never cared about their son. Mr. X would stay in his room as soon as he got home, while Mrs. X spent her days shopping and getting beauty treatments. They never shared a single meal with Greyer. Even on Greyer's birthday, they were still engaged in a heated argument. Mr. X accused Mrs. X of not knowing how to raise a child, and Mrs. X retorted that he was never there for their son. Neither of them was willing to take responsibility. A heartbroken Greyer crawled into a tent and refused to come out. Annie stayed by his side, telling him stories, and Greyer began to rely on her. At a party, while Annie was bringing Greyer to find Mr. X, she accidentally discovered that Mr. X was having an affair. She immediately stepped back from the door, only to notice Mrs. X walking in their direction. She quickly knocked on the door to warn Mr. X. Although Mrs. X didn't discover Mr. X's unusual behavior, the tension between them grew increasingly apparent. The frequent arguments created a tense atmosphere at home. Mrs. X left to clear her head, leaving Greyer with Annie. Not long after, Greyer began to run a fever. Annie immediately called Mrs. X, but no one answered. Left with no choice, Annie had to ask her own mother for help. Fortunately, Greyer's fever eventually broke. Just then, Mrs. X returned home in high spirits. It turned out that Mr. X was taking the family on a trip, so she came back to pack. She showed no concern for her sick son. After they arrived at the vacation villa, Annie prepared breakfast early. Unexpectedly, when Mr. X saw her voluptuous figure, he tried to touch her. Mrs. X happened to witness the scene and fired Annie on the spot, planning to criticize her at a nanny seminar. Little did Mrs. X know that Annie had long been aware of the surveillance camera Mrs. X had placed in her room to monitor her.